This is Channel 7, the #1 station for news and information in Southern California. Now the latest breaking eyewitness news with Jerry Dunphy, Christine Lund, Ted Dawson with sports, Dr. George with weather, and the Eyewitness News team.
From the desert to the sea to all of Southern California, good evening. Here's the latest at 11. British actor and comedian Peter Sellers died early Thursday morning London time after a massive heart attack Tuesday. He was 54. A spokesman at London's Middlesex Hospital said, quote, his heart just faded away. But the record he left on film will not fade. From his latest being there to one of his earliest, Dr. Strangelove.
Could you make this a collect call, operator?
Oh, dear. This is most terribly complicated.
So, dear, didn't I?
Animals could be bred and slaughtered?
Yes, I remember.
Well, that felt good.
And as Inspector Clouseau, Sellers made a lot of people feel good. And as himself in a recent Good Morning America interview, Sellers had no trouble getting more laughs.
A young actor, character actor, because I've always been a character actor. My idol was Alec Guinness and still is. I wanted so much to play, for always was looking to play old man. I used to put on layers of makeup and play old men, if you look back over some of the films. And now I am getting to be an old man. I want to play a younger man.
Peter Sellers, one of the film world's foremost character actors, dead in London at the age of 54.
Roles, even realizing his greatest ambition.
A lot of actors have been asked in their careers, many actors, what is your ambition in your life? Do you want to play Lear and Shakespeare? Do you want to do this, King Richard III? Do you want to do Ibsen? What do you want to do? I can tell you quite simply, the ambition in my life has been to play Chance the Gardener in Being There.
In a garden, growth has its season. First comes spring and summer, but then we have fall and winter. There will be growth in the spring.
In his last movie, the soon-to-be-released The Fiendish Plot of Dr. Fu Manchu, Peter Sellers gives us yet another character in his incredible gallery. Peter Sellers, dead at 54, but he leaves us a legacy of laughter. Steve Edwards, Channel 2 News.
Well, reaction from Hollywood, of course, is one of sadness. Fellow comedian Milton Berle was a close friend of Sellers, and tonight Berle said news of the death is a sad moment in his life. Actress Elka Summers, who starred with Sellers in A Shot in the Dark, called Sellers brilliant and easy to work with. And of course, Connie, there's more.
Yes, Marcia. Tonight I spoke with Blake Edwards, the producer, director, and writer of the Pink Panther movies. Together, Edwards and Sellers created and developed the character of Inspector Clouseau. Edwards said Sellers did not have a single personality. That's something that Sellers was the first to admit.
To find the real Peter Sellers was almost impossible. He was, more often than not, the person that he was playing. And if the person he was playing didn't have very broad dimensions, he had a lot of trouble with it very quickly in the role. Because he couldn't live it out. It just, wouldn't go far enough for him. And he would begin to not like it and to reject it. He was brilliant. He had an enormous facility for finding really unusual, unique facets of a character. And he was terrific. He was wonderful, with a great sense of humor.
Was that natural?
The sense of humor? He also, yes, it was very natural. He, as much of a sense of humor that he had, he would also have terribly tremendous lows. I mean, he would go into deep depressions. He was either way up here or way down here seldom in the middle.
Blake Edwards said that Peter Sellers, oddly enough, was not the first man selected to play Inspector Clouseau, but he said that Sellers was the man who ultimately polished that character.
Actor Peter Sellers died tonight in London at the age of 54. Sellers suffered a massive heart attack in London yesterday. He never regained consciousness. The British actor was a genius, brilliantly portraying a myriad of movie roles. Here's more on the story from Arthur Lord.
Peter Sellers was an actor who played many parts, voices, and accents.
Something very strange is going on right here. On the way,
It was a skill he learned as a radio comic in Great Britain.
two of the soldiers that was with us rode up and called me Your Majesty.
Hello. Sir, I think it's time that Flynn and I were properly introduced.
Of course, sir.
On the screen, the man of many voices also had many faces, a quick change artist who could play several different roles in the same film. In 1964, he played 3 characters in an anti-war satire, Dr. Strangelove. First, as Group Captain Lionel Mandrake.
Operator, this is Group Captain Lionel Mandrake. I'm speaking from Burleson Air Force Base. Look, something very urgent has come up, and I want you to place an emergency person-to-person call with President Merkin Muffley in the Pentagon, Washington, D.C.
Then, as the American President, Merkin Muffley.
One of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head.
And finally, in the title role.
Bold curiosity for the adventure ahead.
This was the actor's favorite film and a huge success at the box office. But Sellers' career in personal life also had many bad periods. Some poor pictures, 3 broken marriages, and failing health drove him into depression and personal isolation. He talked about it recently on the Today program.
Got into movies, was very successful in the early days, and then hit a very bad patch. One of those patches where people cross over the road in order to avoid the meeting, you know what I mean? And
then how did you get back into the good patch again? Was there one picture that turned it around?
Yes, The Return of the Pink Panther.
Obviously not good enough.
The creation of the bumbling Inspector Clouseau in The Pink Panther was his most widely recognized acting achievement. The French detective, who thought of himself as a super sleuth and master of disguise, in reality was something else. The product of a unique comic genius. Arthur Lord, NBC News, Hollywood.